Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Code with Reza channel. My name is Reza and I'm here to teach you Python. Today, I want to talk about files. I use PyCharm here, so we can use open function to work with files in Python. For example, to write to a file, we can say, or to read, let's imagine read. To read from a file, we can say f equals open. I have a file here that I've created. If you look at the test file, it's hello world. I'm here to teach you the Python language. So I'll pass the name of the file to it, which is test file, and then I'll pass the mode. I want to read from this file, so I pass R. R means the file should be opened to read, only read. W means to write to a file, and A means to append to a file. So we want to read from a file. So we open it in a read mode. And in here, we can read all the data in a file using something like the read data equals f dot read. And then printing the data like print read data. And this should be f. The first one, the what is here is called file object. So the open function returns an object which we call file object. From the file object, we can do read and write on the file. So here I'm reading from the file using the read function. And after we are finishing with the function, with what we want to do with the file, we have to close the file with with this one, with close function. So let's run it. Look, hello world, I'm here to teach you the Python language. So if we look closely, we can realize that read function reads all the data in a file and returns all of it. And it's interesting that we open it here and we close it here to release the resources. But the question is, what if in between in here an exception happens? So what if exception happens before closing the file? There is another way of opening the file with the keyword with. It closes the file properly even if exception happens. If we open the file with keyword, then we don't need to close it ourselves. It will be closed automatically. Even if exception happens, it is guaranteed to file to be closed properly. So let me show you. Here we'll say with open our test file in a read mode as if this is a file object. And it's a block of code, so we need this column. And in here we'll say data equals to f dot read. And we can print it here. Print data. We don't need to close it at all. Right? Everything is here. If, for example, in here on if.read any exception happens, or in print data any exception happens, with will close the file for us. But if you're not using with keyboard, then you should call f.close to close the file and immediately free up any system resources used by it. Now let's look at the different ways to read from a file. We can say f, the file object, dot read to read all the elements and contents of the file. Or we can read a couple of characters, for example, 5 characters of the file. So if I run it, it only says hello, only 5 characters of the file. Or if you want to read a single file, a single line of the file, we can say read line. Then it returns the line. One important point about the f.read is that if the end of the file has been reached, f.read will return an empty string. This is something that you need to remember. Now, an interesting point. For reading all lines from a file, you can loop over the file object. It's very interesting. So, for example, I open this file and I have a file object. I can loop through the file object. I can say for line in F. And then I can print the line here. And I don't need to close it here because I opened it using the with. Look, all the lines are here. Hello world, I'm here to teach you and the Python language. We can also read all the lines as a list and loop through that. We can say read lines. This read all the lines returns as a list. Then we can, of course, iterate through the list, loop through the list, and print it out. So this is this one exactly the same. And another interesting way is to create a list from a file object. We can say list of file object. This when we pass the file object to a list function, it extracts all the lines from the file and puts in a list, and then we can loop through the list. This is also very interesting. To me, it's this very interesting way, and it's a loop, so we need to add columns. Now let's go to writing to file. So when we wanted to write a file, we need to use the write function of file object. Let's open a file in a write mode. So I will say f, which is the file object, equals to open, for example, um, test test file 2.txt, and this time in a write mode, and we can say x equals to f dot write. Hello, my friend. Okay, here this f dot write writes this sentence into the file, this file, and returns the number of characters written in here in X. So we can check to see how many characters have been written. Print X, and then we have to close the file here because we didn't open it with. So let's check. It says 15. 15 characters be written to the file. I think this sentence is 15 characters. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so it means all the statements, all the characters that we wanted are in the file now. So if I open the file here, it is here. Hello, my friend. It is created and it is in the test file to file for us. Now, another point. If you have an object X, for example, let me write an if object, X object for you, and it's a list. For example, one, two, simple list. You can view its JSON string representation like this. We need to import the JSON module, and here we can say, let's first print X to see how X looks like now, and then result equals JSON dot dumps X. JSON dot dumps gets an object and creates a JSON a string representation of that object. So let's print it. Look, the first line, it's the object itself, but the second line is a string. It's not object anymore. It's a string and it's a JSON representation. So look at here, it's double quotes instead of single quotes. This also has a double quote. So this one is a JSON representation of that object, and it is a string now. It's good because we can use this library to save our object. If we have a complicated object in Python, we can save that object into a file. There is another variant of dumps function. The name of the function is dump here, no s. It just simply serializes the object to a text file. So let's have a look. We need to import JSON, and we need to have the same x. So I will keep it here, and in here I'll say f equals open test file 2, and we want to write to the file, and we here say JSON dot dump. What do we want to dump? X, object X, where? To this file. So the second parameter is the file, and we have to close file. So let's run it, and let's open the file test file 2. Look, this string is here. It's a string, and is a JSON representation of that object. We can also read this JSON from the file into our code and work it as an object. Let's have a look. Here we need to import JSON again, and we need to say f equals open our test file 2, and now we want to open it in read mode. And we'll say data equals JSON. Now instead of dump, we want to load it. Load what? Load from file. So it reads an object, one object. We cannot have a list of objects here. One object, if it is stored a complex object in a file, it reads that object and returns to us. So print data and f dot close. We always need to close the file. Get here, this is the object that we have. It's not JSON anymore. So this was the part 7 of this tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. These videos are designed to be short and quick but complete. So please don't forget to watch this video a couple of times, and I will upload the next part in the next couple of days. Please subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Thank you for watching, and see you guys later.